Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice. But here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Bobby Davis, Paul Bratslavsky, and Sarah Kimmel.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything tech, AI to VR, and robots to flying cars. This week, I'm joined by Bobby Davis, Paul Bratslavsky, and Sarah Kimmel, and I'm Kevin Doyle. And coming up in this week's episode, Meta's Canadian news blackout, the Elon of the Week section, where we talk about all the weird stuff Elon's done this week, LK-99, the new online sensation superconductor, and then we'll wrap up with our Null, Not Null section, where we recommend that you avoid a product or service. So let's start out talking about Meta's Canadian news blackout. So recently, Canada is putting together a new law called the Online News Act. This isn't in effect yet. It's in kind of draft at the minute. They're kind of working it through. We're preempting this a little bit. So what they're saying is this law is going to force tech companies to pay publishers for news. So what this has done is forced Meta and Google to kind of jump the gun on this a little bit, I would say. So what's happening right now is Meta have come out and said that as of now, Meta will block users' access to links shared by Canadian news publications on both Instagram and Facebook. And they will also block users based in Canada. They'll be unable to see news links and content published by international outlets. So any Canadian news sources, nobody will see. If you're in Canada, you won't be able to see any news published on these platforms. So Google have already said they've actually removed news links from its search results in Canada as of now. I can confirm, though, I tested this earlier today with a VPN. So I VPN'd over to Canada, I went to Google, I searched something, and the news articles did still come up. So it looked exactly the same as if I'd searched it in the US. So I don't know if there was something strange there. They haven't, it came up as a regular search. The news articles were there. So I'm not sure if there's actually an effect for everybody or this is for a test group, because there was a test group at some point. But they're both saying, hey, we're going to take... we're basically not going to follow this. We're not going to pay to put our links up there. We're just going to make Canadians not have news on our platform. That's what they've said. So, the reason behind this that is given, they've said that the government has said it's essential to repay and rebuild news outlets decimated during the transition from print to digital media. That's the reasoning behind this. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of nuts. The Canadian government's now upset that Facebook or Meta, Instagram, Facebook, and Google have been proactive with this. They've now said that, this is a quote from one of their ministers, says, "This is irresponsible. Facebook knows they have no obligations under the Act right now," because as I said, it is preliminary, right? "They have not participated in the regulatory process." So basically, the Canadian government has said, hey, we're going to put these rules in place. You're going to have to pay when you share this news now. And Facebook said, you know what? Nah, I just don't want to play. I don't want to play your game. You take it. We're going to take our ball and we're leaving. We just don't want to play. So now Canada's upset that they didn't even want to barter, which I think is amazing. So this could have cost Google and Facebook a combined, they estimated around 329 million Canadian dollars. So Facebook and Google don't want to pay that, and they've just moved on. So Sarah, who do you think's right here? The tech companies who want to keep it as is, or those wanting the tech companies to pay the publishers when news is shared on their platform?
Yeah, I'm definitely on Google and Meta's side on this one. And it's funny that you pulled out the exact same quote that I literally wrote down word for word. Essential to repay outlets decimated by transition from print to digital. And then I wrote, what the what? Why is this a problem we're trying to solve? Are we going to start paying Blockbuster for disseminating their entire company because of online streaming? No, you need to pivot with the times, and the Friends quote just keeps coming to my mind, pivot. Because it's the same thing, if you are an online publisher, so like me, I was a blogger. I transitioned more to video because that's where the content is being consumed more. So you have to pivot with the times. You're not you shouldn't expect the government to bail you out when your company doesn't work anymore because the technology has changed. And so I just don't understand why this is a problem the government is trying to solve. Like, blows my mind. And then the other part of it, I'm like, so are we just trying to keep Canadians like not informed on anything? Like, is that what the government's trying to do? Because that, they're not going to get news from any social media platforms. They're not going to be able to like find news. Nobody goes to like a website to just read all of the articles on there anymore. That's not how we work anymore. So to, make people pay to send links to the website, like I just don't get it. Like, and then as a blogger too, this is how I would get my articles read. I would share the links on social media, and that's the only way people were going to find my stuff. So, like, why are we limiting that? I'm blown away by the whole thing.
This is the unexpected outcome, right? The outcome of Canadians not being able to get the news is not what the bill is trying to get to. It's just trying to get them to pay. So, yeah, Bobby, go ahead. I know you want to chime in on this.
No, I think what I look at this is like governments always trying to tax big companies, and they're just finding new ways to tax these companies. And I think Google and Facebook should be offended by it and say, fine, we don't have to push those links out. What is ironically just crazy what they're thinking is that the right to publish on Google search engine is something Google provides as a service for free. And so what the other thing they could have done is, fine, we'll pay you to post the links, but we're going to charge you for posting the links. So if the government taxes us, we're going to bill the government for the cost of posting the link, because we have to pay for servers, we have to pay for web crawlers, whether you like them or not. And then, I would think the news sites would want Google to post the link. I think that's a benefit.
They do.
It's free. I mean, like, you don't have to imagine a world where you had to pay Google for the right to be in the search engine, which is where this would go.
Right.
Every website would have to start paying Google a monthly fee, depending on how many links you have. Can you imagine us counting the refers every week? Okay, this week it cost you $10,000 because you have a popular website. So, but I think it's funny, and I like the fact that they just said no to a government and they just won't do it. I mean, like, we're not going to do it. 329 million is nothing to sneeze at, especially when you multiply it by every country on the face of planet Earth. And if Canada's 320, what would be the U.S. bill? $1 billion? It'd be 10 times that amount, just because we have more traffic here. I don't think Facebook, Meta, Google, Microsoft should be the tax source for these authoritarian governments, which I think Canada is one of those authoritarian governments. They just want to tax people into oblivion. So, but the real question is, why does he have that bandage on his forehead? That's what the news needs to cover for Justin Trudeau. That's really what we need to find out.
In this picture.
Well, I was looking up something about Justin Trudeau the other day because I was talking to my son about America versus other countries and stuff. And all of the news was about how he's separating from his wife. So maybe his wife threw something at him.
I'm thinking she did.
Probably. You know what's crazy? I love Canada, but sometimes their leadership, I don't know what they're doing. And I used to feel really bad when you watch South Park and they make fun of Canadians. You're like, that is not nice. And then you see the stuff that he comes up with and stuff. And you're like, you know what, man, what are they thinking? I mean, I just like how, to me, I'm just like, who paid him to come up with that law that literally doesn't benefit anybody except the few people that have their dinosaur media?
Well, that's exactly it, right? It comes down to lobbyists, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Lobbyists have pushed for this to be a thing because they don't like the tech companies whatever that's taking their money or whatever it is. But it's like they're trying to charge the signpost. It's just the weirdest thing ever. It's like, hold on, all they're doing is linking out to it's like, how could you? It doesn't make any sense.
Listen,
it makes zero sense.
First of all, if Google and Facebook did not exist, then nobody would be reading their content. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
What are they thinking? What are they thinking? It's like, I don't find stuff by going to the news website. I find it on Google and then I go to the news website. And for them to kind of just the audacity that they have, it's like, it's insane. And to me, like, even though Facebook and Google are evil companies, like I'm also like, hey, I think they made the right call on this one, because it's like, which is kind of insane.
It is insane. No, it is insane. We're siding with big tech on this.
Big tech,
that's really...
because the insanity. And I'm kind of curious, because it's like a very like tall, thing to say, and like be like, and then they're gonna have to backpedal. There's no way in hell they're gonna.
Oh, of course,
they're going to have to. And and I just want to see how he's gonna like wiggle out of this one. Like, what is he
the outcome
say?
here is definitely not what they expected. That's why that quote literally said, like, they have not participated in the regulatory process. They what they did was they tried to push them for this thing, and they said they expected them to push back and be like, well, no, maybe we can concede like this amount or whatever it is, or we can concede this. And they're just like, no, we don't care to play in Canada. We don't have to have our products there in this way. And then there's like, it's Canada. It's just like, they're like, we have the rest of the world. Like, that's all that happened, right? And they're just like, we don't need to be there, so we just won't be there. And now Canada's upset about that fact. This happened in Australia too, right? Previously, Australia had a similar thing, and they did negotiate in Australia. And I guess there is some kind of like negotiation happened there, and there is some middle ground where they do have to compensate something, but it wasn't what they originally asked. They went to the table and said, "Oh, okay, maybe that's a market they thought they needed to be in." So they kind of played ball there. Canada, they're just like, nah.
But that's a very interesting point, though. Maybe they were kind of following that Australian example, and they're like hoping there's going to be some sort of negotiation, and to have Facebook and Google be like, no, we did it with Australia, that's enough.
And could you imagine
we're done with that now? We're not doing it every country.
Well, could you imagine? That's it. The precedence that it sets too is a problem, because every country is going to say, well, man, Canada got away with it. Like, we need our local media companies to get it too. Like, they need their little piece of the pie. So how do we, like, what do you do? Have an individual agreement per country? That's insane.
Right. And once you allow a government to tax you in this way, it never goes down. It always goes up. And what Google and Mike Benna was saying, that this was a unlimited tax liability they were facing. They had no idea where this was going. And they're just like, okay, I guess we're not showing news anymore. We'll just figure out something else.
Yeah.
And they're probably thinking, no one's reading the news anyway. They're looking at Facebook for other things, like.
But that's not true either. If you look at the stats, it's proven that they are
they do
looking
read
at
news
on there.
For sure.
They are. It was like 80% or something. The stat was really high for like the amount of people that said they read news on Facebook. So it's like, so even the government's so out of touch with what the average person is using it for. I mean, although maybe they're not. I don't think they are out of touch. I just think they're bullheaded about it, because they thought they could just impose this fee and they would just say, okay, I get it. It's like, it's only 300 and something million. And agreed, to Google and Meta, that is change, right? It's nothing. But it's the precedence that it sets that I think, like you say, opens them up to the rest of the world to this unlimited liability.
It's a lot of money, though, to these guys. I mean, that's not insignificant. I mean,
no, that's insignificant to Meta and Google. That's $1 to Meta out of your pocket. It's the same thing. That's nothing.
But isn't it like every year or like whatever?
It's every year. It's like a big chunk of change.
It doesn't matter. The monetary amount doesn't matter. It's nothing.
But if they could, but I think if you give the government an inch, they're gonna keep taking and taking and taking and taking. That's the problem. Like, once they're in, right? There's no going back. But what I would suggest is that they backpedal very quietly, and that none of the creators of South Park get any attention to this lawsuit, because I could tell you,
quick, do it while the writers are still on strike.
Yeah. It's going to be some media blackout Canadian like South Park equivalent episode where
it's coming. It's definitely coming.
Maybe Zuckerberg
missed the news.
Maybe Zuckerberg threw something at Justin Trudeau. Maybe that's where the lump on his head came from.
Yeah.
Well, and what I don't understand too about this is none of these, like Google, Facebook, it's not the full article. If you want to read the full article, you still click through to the website.
Yes.
And that's what I don't understand. Like, what is the problem?
Charging the signpost. You're charging the signpost. There's a sign. It's like, it makes no sense.
It makes zero sense. The only reason I know those news websites exist is because I find them on Google. Or Facebook, someone shares, and then I go to that website. It's like, I mean, like, the audacity is hilarious, and the fact that Google and Facebook, no, it's like, no,
People make millions of dollars selling SEO services.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to rank in Google. I don't understand why you would be like, well, but actually we're just going to charge you if I rank in Google.
Exactly.
No, you don't understand. You're gonna pay us for
Right.
ranking
No, that's what I'm
us.
saying. Like, we're going to
Google's like,
charge
what?
you to rank
Wait,
in Google.
I think it was an old-fashioned shakedown, except they tried to shake down the biggest kid on the block. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
he just said no.
he said no. In fact, we may start charging you.
Yeah. Actually, we're going to go the opposite way.
We're
We're
gonna
going to
the
charge
opposite
you.
Do you want Facebook in Canada? Okay.
Yeah.
It's $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Like if
I
you
mean-
want an account in Canada, you have to now pay monthly for a subscription to get on Facebook.
It's Facebook Blue.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Justin Trudeau's Facebook account got canceled.
It'll be
That's what happened.
hilarious if like all the services instead they increase the charge for anybody from Canada just to be like, oh no, your ads are a little bit more expensive. now."
Gmail's a little bit more
Yeah, a
expensive.
little
than-
Gmail and everything. That's
Yep.
crazy. But
is.
again, it's hilarious that we're all siding with Facebook and Google because that's just like, which
Yeah.
would never happen. And that just shows how ludicrous the Canadian government is. Like,
Yeah, this is not the right answer or even
No.
solving a problem that needs to be solved. That's the issue. Just to Sarah's original point, you've got to move with the times. You have to pivot. You have to have changed. If you haven't changed, you cannot go and complain to the government that somebody else has taken your toys. You've got to go fix it yourself. It's that simple.
If no one's reading your news site, you need to fix why they're not reading your news site. And if you can't sell ads on your news site, then you need to find a new salesman or figure something else out.
Yeah.
Or the government needs to step up and fund these news organizations. That's the way
or
you
let
want
them
it to be.
die and not
Or
worry
let 'em
about
die
it
and
because
figure it out.
it's, nobody gets. It's like independent news. That's where it's all
It-
at right
town
now.
criers
you know?
worked for a
Yeah.
long time.
I know, right? Who wants to buy a Blockbuster right now? I mean,
Exactly. Nobody.
sign me up.
To be honest, like for me, I don't really go for news to like the big agencies. It's just like I got like, which is probably also bad, but I get all my news from YouTube, so I can't basically. Tell you,
man.
maybe- whatever.
Oh, you
Maybe it's
have
not
some
as
weird
accurate.
beliefs if you get all your news from YouTube.
yeah.
Somebody check Paul's algorithm.
Yeah. Earth is flat, right? I remember. I knew a kid who fell off. He went too
The
far.
latest
Could be a
is
running
the
joke
Earth is
on
flat.
Yeah.
It's like,
Wait till we get to the superconductor
New
later.
science
You're
came
gonna
out.
love
The
it.
Earth is flat.
yeah, there was like somebody on YouTube. I don't think it was like saying about Canada. I think they're saying about some country, but they were like, this country doesn't exist. And they had like 6 videos of basically saying how like a country doesn't exist. And they went through all these like crazy points. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, so.
And now he's sold.
Maybe Canada doesn't exist. Who knows? Maybe I got, there's just like a, yeah.
Maybe.
Fun fact:
No,
I have been to the last Blockbuster that is still in operation.
There's one still no way.
It's in Bend, Oregon.
Oh my
And
gosh.
like we were there in a family reunion, and I brought my like nieces and nephews to the Blockbuster, and like the amount of like mind blowingness that was happening, they could not understand the concept of the entire store. Like, why are there so many copies of the same movie? Well, because you can't have it at the same time
that's
as
funny.
Yes, yeah.
like somebody else. Like if they're all gone, then you can't rent it.
Yeah, you had to
But-
get there early on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
they could not even understand the concept of the Blockbuster.
Okay, let's move on to our Elon of the Week section. The section where it seemingly has replaced our previous Skynet Watch section, where we need to talk about stuff going on at X or Twitter or the platform formerly known as Twitter and the man known as Elon Musk. So there's a few stories this week. We're going to start out with the one where we are talking about X or Twitter taking back some usernames, or I don't know if I want to call it stealing. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what to call this, but reclaiming some usernames because they kind of own them anyway, I guess. I don't know. But basically, they took back a couple of very popular usernames, one being at X, because that is now their name. They took that one back, and at music. So these are the 2 high profile ones that happened over the last kind of week or so. So the @music one, let's start with that one. It's been owned by a guy since 2007. It had over 450,000 followers. So basically, they sent him an email and said, hey, you need to change your username. Here are your alternatives. These are the alternative names they gave him to choose from. Music Fan, Music 123, and Music Lover. Didn't seem to like any of those, so didn't actually choose one. He chose not to choose one and cancelled his Twitter Blue, which you see he was paying for Twitter when he had this, which makes it even worse, I think.
It does make it worse.
It does. And then the @X owner, again, has owned this since 2007, which makes sense. He must have been one of the very, very first users. To get a single character must have been very, very early on. It had over 75,000 followers on it. That account now has like 7.5 million or something, I think. It's like it shot up once they took it back. He got notified by a generic email from support@twitter.com that basically said, hey, we're taking your account. Here are some alternatives. They actually gave him the alternative that they gave him. They actually changed his name. Do you see what they changed his name to? It's insane. They changed his username to @X 1234567899875. That's the username they gave him.
Oh
Elon typed that one in.
Back.
So.
Yeah.
maybe that's
He did.
maybe that's why it's like higher value, because he gave them the username himself. So
That's so long.
they didn't pay. They didn't pay either one of these guys for their usernames. They didn't sell them because technically that's also against Twitter or X's terms of service to sell a username. They do say that. They did offer the owner of @X, though. They offered him some merch and an opportunity to meet the management, which
Oh my God, what are they thinking? And here's the cake,
I know,
too.
yeah,
It's like-
isn't it insane? It's nuts. And then there's also been similar reports for usernames too. They've claimed a bunch of others, but haven't been as high profile. So @sports, @movies, @TV, basically any kind of common word anything that they think they might be able to use, they've kind of like sucked all those back in and taken over all of them, apparently, without compensation for anybody, or other than maybe a t-shirt and an opportunity to meet
To
that
meet the
guy.
management.
Elon.
Maybe it's not even him. Maybe you get to meet
I know,
some
it doesn't
middle
say
manager.
meet Elon. Like, it
It doesn't say
not
meet Elon.
that. Yeah.
It's meeting some middle manager who's been there for like
Right.
5 minutes because he fired everybody else who actually knew what they were doing. So, Paul, I'm going to ask you first. Do you think this is what happened to at Kevin Doyle? Because I'm pretty sure this is what happened here.
100%. They were like, that's
I'm
the
with you on
coolest
that
name
one.
ever. We got
And
to reclaim it.
exactly, I think they took it back.
They
That's
took
why
it
I'm
back.
currently still banned, by the way. And would you be annoyed if they just changed your username?
100% I will be annoyed. And I mean, this sucks for sure. But one thing I would say is that this is where it's a private company. You could do whatever the hell they want. And I think people and I know nobody wants to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's like crappy. You would think people do their due diligence and try to treat people humanely. But at the end of the day, a lot of these corporations, they will do things that make sense to keep everybody happy as long as everybody's views in line. But as long as they need to change something, they will never side with the people that support the platform. They'll just do whatever change that they have to make. And that's kind of the thing. Like, I remember talking to somebody, talking about, is Twitter public domain? Is YouTube public domain? Whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you could publicly talk about things there. But at the end of the day, they decide the rules that you have to follow. And if they decide to kick you off the platform, if they decide to take your name out, like, they can do it. Except the issue I have is that, a lot of people on the platform, for instance, who do get these large followings, and part of their social media persona becomes part of their business. And so if you remove something that kind of removes your ability to make same level of income, to take care of your family, there should be some sort of rights that you can do to basically, reclaim what you lost. Otherwise, it's not fair. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, it's not your company. You're not the owner. And they could do whatever the hell they want, which is unfortunate. And I feel like one thing that I try to myself realize is that all these things that I'm part of, I have to understand they're not mine. I didn't build them, and they could be taken away from me at any time. And that's why diversification and all that stuff is important. But it's shameful. It is really shameful. But but they can't do it.
What I don't understand is they used to own @Twitter Music. Why didn't he just say @X Music and @X Sports and @X whatever?
I don't know.
Like, I go back to, I say this every week. He continually steps into things that are just like, what are you doing, man? I mean, like, why are you annoying? It's like he wants to poke at these users every single week. We could come back here every week where he's poking them in the eye again.
Yeah.
eventually, even though Twitter seemingly survived at this point with the threads thing, and it's kind of settled down. Eventually, it's gonna. People will just say, "I don't care anymore, man."
Well, that's me right now. I'm done.
I know. I mean,
You're done.
but I'm talking about at a massive scale, like where everyone has just left and there's no one there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious, like what's going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are going to hang on to it, but I literally like haven't used Twitter in like forever, except like yesterday, put like a stupid picture of myself, and then when I post, I was like, I don't even know why I posted. There's no point. There's like really no point of posting anything, and so I'm like over Twitter also. But to be honest, I haven't been using threads. I think I'm just over social in general. I'm like, whatever.
That might be true too. I think that's a common thing for people right now.
Yeah, but I'm really like, curious. I feel like what he's trying to do with Twitter, change it completely. He's assuming that people will want to continue to use his platform, but if he changes it too much, it's like, and the public's going to be like, I don't really care for it.
Then he comes out and says other weird things, like he's going to pay for lawsuits if he gets sued by your boss.
Well,
I was going to say that's in our.
That's exactly the next next thing to talk about. That's the next thing to talk about. So a couple of other weird things he's done this week.
That's almost like a contract now between every user. Everyone who gets sued, the lawyers will go after him. Well, I guess we can bankrupt Twitter now. We found a way to do it.
Yeah,
all we need to do is find a company to
fire
somebody.
So this is exactly what he said. He has vowed to pay legal costs for users who get in trouble at work for their tweets. So if you've been on the platform and you've liked something or tweeted something and that's got you fired from your job, he's basically said that if you were unfairly treated by your employer due to posting or liking something on this platform, we will fund your legal bill.
I got
no limit to the amount they were willing to pay.
So technically, Trump, who was the president, was our people employee. And he technically kind of got fired. Tweets. And technically,
he's got a lot of legal bills right now.
Yeah, he got a lot of legal bills right there.
He's got some legal issues going on.
Like, come on. I mean, I think it's
crazy.
Like, come on. It's insane. I can't imagine like that this not going to be abused. And I think again, he's just saying stuff to get media attention. And as soon as someone like calls or does some legitimate like thing, he'll be like, oh no, that's not what I meant. That's not, no, we're not going to cover all your your fees or like whatever. Because I literally the last boss I had, I think I could find a tweet or two that he sent where he called me something he wasn't supposed to. I'm sure there's out there.
This is my current thinking and take on Elon Musk, and this is going to be really, really negative. But I'm really down on this guy at the minute. But this is just the way it's going to be, right?
Kevin's still bitter about getting blocked.
This is a high-end site right here.
It is. Well, this is all it needs to be. He is Mr. Say Something, Do Nothing. This is now my new thinking on Elon. He will never pay anybody's legal bills.
No.
It'll be a part on this site, because this site basically tracks everything that he says and then doesn't do. Right? Nice. So this site is long. There's a lot of stuff on here. There's a lot of stuff that he has said that he has never done. So this is the kind of guy that he is. He basically just says stuff and then doesn't follow through on it. That's what he does now. That's his thing. Yeah. That's who Elon is. And we just have to come to the conclusion that he's just going to say stuff, and we're going to talk about it, and it's never ever going to happen. He's never going to fight Zuckerberg. He's never ever going to pay the legal costs. X will never be the platform that will be everything. He's been saying that since '99. This is his second attempt at this. It's not going to happen. We just have to know that he's just full of it, and that's it, and move on.
Well, I think that, like what I said a few weeks ago, I think that's why he's so angry at the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, because he said something about buying Twitter, and then they held him to the fire on
100%.
Yeah, and so it was like apparently probably something he wanted to just say and throw away, like all this other stuff.
He didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
100%. That is exactly it, Sarah. And I said this exactly the same thing to Bobby Earl. I was like, he didn't want to buy Twitter. He just got forced into it legally because he just said it. And sometimes your mouth will get you in trouble. And but he signed documents, right? He actually signed it. He took it one step further. He said it and then said, I can do that because somebody called him out on it. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you get Elon to pay you $1 million if you just if you could get him to say it because then he'd legally have to, and he would say it. You could convince him to say it, and then it's that's insane.
You know what would be hilarious if he woke up one day, he's like, oh my gosh, these people, they make fun of me. Like, I'm never held accountable. I don't do anything. If he took that website as a checklist and just literally start going down the list and just doing the things, doing the things. Yeah, that would never happen.
This is my to-do list
but
now.
that would be hilarious. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like somebody has made him a to-do list. He could just go there and like deliver on these promises.
But it would never happen. Never happen.
True. But it's not going to happen. You're right. It's not. Talking about the Elon Zuck fight thing, you guys see his latest news on this thing? He basically said, he came out with a tweet that said, I don't know why we're talking about this.
This is great.
Zuck versus Musk fight will be live streamed on X. All proceeds will go to charity for veterans. And then Zuck was like, news to me.
Yeah.
like, it's never going to happen. It's not, nothing in that statement is true. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be live streamed on X, and it won't go to charity. And because it just doesn't make any sense. And then today or yesterday, I think it was Monday, maybe Tuesday, he said that the state is now in flux because he's getting an MRI of his neck and upper back tomorrow.
Yeah.
May require surgery before the fight can happen.
Oh man, I can't fight you because I've got a cold this week. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I think he should get out of the fight as being someone else who's over 50. He doesn't have any business fighting someone
he
that's
should
39
fight.
years old that trains.
100%. He should.
That's like me. That's like me trying to fight Paul. That's not happening.
First of all, let me tell you this. Like, you're using that as an example. I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I don't want to fight anybody, even at my age. Like, left alone. Like,
you train though.
Who
You
cares?
actually
Even
go to
now.
class and
so
fight
let me tell you a
people.
story. Yesterday, I went to class. There's this dude, 6'3", 200 pounds, ripped. And then he's like, hey, you want to spar? And I'm like, God damn, no. But so, like, I sparred with him. And literally, he's just moving. And I'm literally, like, surviving. He's just like, And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to die right now. What the hell's happening? I look at the clock. It's a 6-minute round. And I'm like, what the hell you mean it's only 5 minutes and 57 seconds went by? It felt like an hour. 3 seconds, like, of him just, like manhandling me like a bear because it's so huge. I was like, Jesus, I couldn't even run away from him. Like, cause he's like reach was so like, I was like, this is ridiculous.
Maybe that's what this fight's going to be like. I don't know, but we'll never know because it's never going to happen.
Yeah, Zuck would kill.
It's never going to happen. I would put money on it at this point. I don't know if I'm assuming you can bet in Vegas that it's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen. But your odds aren't going to be very good because they know it's not going to happen either.
Yeah,
This guy's all talk. I am over this man. Like, I am over him at this point. He is done.
You know what's
Kevin, how do you really
funny
feel
though?
about
I
Elon?
guarantee you, Zuck, he's like taking this seriously. He's hoping this, like, he's literally training. Like, he's like, I want to see some blood. He's like, I'm going to mess that guy up.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's, he's like, wakes up in the morning. He's like, I don't care about meta, but man, I'm on meta.
Because he's the one that has nothing to lose, isn't he? He's the one that got called out. He's the one that, like, he has nothing to lose. Elon has everything to lose in it. So
the crazy thing is Elon's not in great shape, and you've seen the last pictures of Zuckerberg. Like, loving or hating him, the guy's managing his diet, he's working out. I mean, Jeff Bezos is jacked. Although Elon's not.
Well, apparently Elon needs to have an MRI on his neck and back, so he's definitely not
You
looking too good, is he?
Have you seen
Unless
how
that's
fast
just
Zuck's
crap.
like 5K time is? He's like running like 5-something minute miles.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
holy crap!
That's what happens when you're a billionaire.
Right.
You can be
You've
paid to
got
work
a lot
out.
of free time.
Yeah.
Anyone else
Dang
got
it, I need to
anything
get
dumb?
that money.
Anybody else got anything dumb that Elon's done this week? Anything I've missed?
Well, I mean, back to the username thing. What Paul was saying is absolutely true. You don't own anything on any of these platforms.
Mhm.
So, granted, they could have handled it way better. And because I've actually stolen the Family Tech Twitter handle. Not stolen, but I trademark claimed it. And I got it. This was years and years and years ago. But and I also trademark claimed on Twitter. So not Twitter, Twitch. So I have Family Tech on all the platforms. And I did take it from 2 platforms.
But you didn't, but not by being there first. You had to go through the process and get it from somebody to get it.
Exactly. Well, and I tried to reach out to the people first, and they were not in use. They hadn't been in use for years and years and years on both platforms. And so I didn't feel bad about it. If it was in use, I probably wouldn't have even tried, because I'm just like, okay, you were there first, you got it. So, so it's yours. But to just like take at music, like Bobby was saying, he could have had X music. Like that would have been like more on brand, I feel like.
Yeah, be his own brand. Yep. Yeah.
Right. And let music have it. Let music have his music. But and so
like he has for 16 years. Like that, that's a long time to be invested in something to have it just ripped from under you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And especially as somebody who has the same username on all the platforms, that would drive me insane to have it different just on the one platform. So I think he could have gone, he could have gone done something different. Like, okay, somebody else already owns this. I mean, I understand kind of the @X one because of like the platform.
Yeah.
But they definitely should have compensated.
Too.
Like I would absolutely have compensated for the.
I mean, at least get an email from a person.
Or
they got a generic email from support@twitter.com. Yeah. Like, at least be human about it and be like, hey, we've changed our name. And it's like, and he was expecting this communication anyway, because he had talked about it in the days prior to be like, well, something's got to happen here, right? Like, what's going to happen? I don't know. And then a day later, he's like, well, that happened. I'm now X123456789987665.
He should have gave him Twitter Blue for life. He should have paid him for it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's just what a normal person would do and say, hey, I am going to do this, but I'm going to compensate you.
Yeah.
And then.
And it should have been, like you said, an email like directly from Elon or like somebody really high up. Like, hey, you've had this for 16 years. So we understand that this sucks.
That would never happen.
Here's a Model 3 and $10,000.
So,
right,
that would never happen because it would set a precedence that these corporations have some sort of humanity to them. Because if you have an issue on Facebook, no, I'm just going to tell you, if you have issue on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, you're not talking to a real person unless you're generating crazy amount of money for them. Because like I've heard stories. I think you mentioned that you had a different like YouTube channel, and then something happened to it, and it just disappeared. There's nothing you could have done, and it's like there's there's nothing anybody could do. Like unless you like even like super huge creators who there's this guy Dr. Disrespect who makes like crazy like gaming videos, like really funny character, really interesting guy to follow. But he was on Twitch, and they just kind of like X'd him with not giving any reasons, and it's like he's suing them back because he's one of the biggest creators ever, but at the same time, like anybody, like they don't care. They're just gonna like move on. Go.
What about me? I had a Twitter account since 2008. This is a 15-year-old Twitter account. Kevin Doyle had been on Twitter for 15 years. Yes, I don't have 100,000 followers or 1 million people following me. There was a couple of thousand people on it. That's it. That didn't matter. But I've had it for 15 years, and they just incorrectly suspended me with no reasoning.
And there's nothing.
That's it. I'm done. And I cannot speak to somebody. Yeah. No recourse. No nothing. I've sent so many emails. I'm over it.
And that's how like every corporation is. Like, and a lot of people just like they don't have that happen to them personally, and so they're like, oh no, they're like whatever, and they defend them. But at the end of the day, their answer to their investors and the bottom line, and you're not it. Like and so they know there's plenty of people, and one Paul Braslavsky, Kevin Doyle, like whatever, but it doesn't matter to them. They're like whatever. This is unfortunate.
Agreed.
Yeah, if Mr. Beast can give somebody a Tesla, then I mean, Elon can absolutely give a couple people he took their username of a Tesla. I mean,
why didn't Mr. Beast?
Well, think about the positive news you get from that. Well,
imagine the news. The positive spin on that would be great.
Right?
Yes, it would.
And then the guy at Music wouldn't have a choice. You don't have to take it.
Yeah.
But it
doesn't matter because the goodwill, the look of goodwill there would be so positive. It's like he's just a win-win. He doesn't care whether you take it or not.
Right.
And like for him to give somebody a Tesla is, not really going to break the bank on, I
think it's 10 usernames they took. So, I mean, 10 cars. I mean, like, nothing.
It's like chump change for him. Come on.
Right.
Yeah. Not going to happen. Although he'll probably tweet that it's going to happen and then it'll never happen.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll listen to this show and do it.
Exactly what's going to happen.
Elon's our biggest fan. That's what it is, Kevin.
Yeah.
Sure. I bet he's listening right now.
He watches every episode of the Not Null Podcast.
Let's move on. let's move on to our final story before we talk about our recommendations.
Yeah,
Or
let's talk about this.
This is this is okay.
My time to shine.
Let's talk about LK-99, the new online sensational superconductor. So, Bobby, I'm gonna hand this over to you. This is I know you've been following this thing, and please educate us on LK-99 and superconductors.
So superconductors, if you don't know, and this, I'm not a material scientist, okay? But
I don't think any of us are, right? Just nobody has
unless just Sarah's holding out on us. We don't know. But like,
oh, sorry. Did you see my degree back here? I gotta hide that.
There's some real work that goes on in this. So like this, seemingly right now is in the science fiction realm of like, can you make a superconductor at room temperature? So in 1911 or something like that, this guy wanted to transmit electricity. He dumps it in liquid helium and he finds out, hey, if you make it super cold, it doesn't lose heat, and heat is energy. And so when we transmit electricity from wherever you get your electricity from, the power plant to your house, it loses a lot of the power due to heat loss. Same thing in computers. That's why computer rooms have to be cooled. Same thing in your car, electronics, and everywhere. If electricity didn't lose heat in transmission, it would change the world. We would have lossless electricity. Electric cars would be way more efficient, and things could fly, because what superconductors also do is resist resist magnetic fields. And so like if you put a magnet and a magnet underneath and it'll float. A superconductor will.
And that's
float.
what this image is, right? That's what these images we see all over online.
So
we can finally have hoverboards from Back to the Future.
Yeah. So here's where it gets weird. And so this is where me and Kevin talked about earlier today. We didn't argue, but we were saying he thinks I'm crazy. This is why I think that this might be real. Now, has it been, can someone take this guy's work on LK-99 and say, has it been replicated yet? It hasn't been replicated yet. But here's where it gets kind of weird. And so if you're watching your History Channel, Paul, put on your tinfoil hat right now. Okay. There's been stories since the early 2000s that superconductors existed. All right. So this guy graduates from college in 1999. That's also working for the Navy. 2006, they see UFOs that fly around the Nimitz character that looks like a superconductor UFO. It's a cylinder-shaped object that flies around. It's faster than any plane on the planet. This is in 06. Fast forward to when we're at 2022, we're having hearings in Congress now about UFOs. The only way a UFO could fly is if it had a superconductor. Okay. I don't think UFOs are from other planets. I think we make them. And if we do, this is how we would do it. And if I can imagine it, I know material scientists can't. There are patents in the U.S. Patents Office where they have patented superconductors since 2017, 2018, that they've talked about these patents before. And they're in the U.S. Patents Office. So is it real? Who knows? A lot of people think that it's not real. It's in fair sale. It's junk science. No one can replicate it. The Chinese try to replicate it this week, but they said they got it down to 100 degrees negative Kelvin. It's still super cold, but not as cold as like negative 282 or something like that. So here's what I do think, Kevin, and this is why I think it could be real, is if you think about that it works at super low temperatures, that it is working right now. It's not like superconductor is like magic altogether. They do work. Can we just do it at room temperature? Then you factor in things like cell phones that we saw in Star Trek in 1960s that were just like super magical. Talking computers in Star Trek. Ray Bradbury in Fahrenheit 451 talked about iPods. I mean, drones were in the first Dune book. All of these things that these guys write about 50, 60 years before it ever came true, it seemed like science fiction until it wasn't. And if you can think about, imagine when the first light bulb came out and it's like, wow, that thing lasts for longer than 2 minutes. Yeah. And so like, you're like, wow, I can light my house all night long. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Just power transfer. When Tesla made the first electromagnetic dam in Niagara Falls and you powered a whole city with power, it's like, it's mind blowing. So now what we're saying is, can these guys do it? I think they might have. I mean, I think they might have, but I can't prove it. I can't go. I'm not the one on YouTube saying I'm going to cook some, copper and lead together in my basement. And I don't believe those videos, but I believe in material science videos, especially in the Navy, if they're filing patents for it, Now, what this could be, though, and I'll stop my rant after this. It could be true that the reason the Navy filed the patent, the reason we have UFOs talking about it, is to make China go out and research superconductors at room temperature and spend $1 trillion on it. It could be that, all right? And this whole thing is crazy. But here's the other thing that makes in our tinfoil
Here,
hat,
we're totally
Paul,
super close. Why don't you guys get there too?
imagine this is just statistically improbable. The guys in Congress talking about UFOs, the exact same day this story from this guy in Korea comes out about a room temperature superconductor. It's the same day. Why is in Congress the same day? To me, that looks like a coordinated effort to disseminate information, either true or false. I don't know, but I don't think it's like complete fantasy land, because you can watch a YouTube video and see a superconductor float around on a magnet. It's kind of cool if you ever watch one. It is very cool.
I was watching Kevin's face the whole time, and he was like eyes rolled. But Kevin, just to make this even worse for you, as soon as Bobby started talking about UFOs, I was like 100%. And my take is a little bit different. So, because I got to keep it going. Come on, bro. So my take here is that they're like, God, all these like people, they seeing UFOs. We can't hide them anymore. They definitely exist. So how can we make the public think that there's a real chance that UFOs are real? And so we're going to make up this weird story about this superconductor. So people could be like, hey, these UFOs, they're not like interdimensional like portals from hell. They're actual crafts made out of this K whatever thing. By the way, Kevin,
LK-99.
I reproduced this experiment myself right here. I have like right there. Look at that right there. It's floating. If you look really close, it's amazing.
Wow.
It's levitating.
Wow.
I'm actually not even sitting on my chair. I'm levitating right now because my whole chair is made. But to be honest, though, if it is true, it will be like an amazing discovery. But one thing that I heard like somebody was saying is that even if it is true, we're not going to see the benefits of it for another like 50, 60 years. So it's like, it's not going to be in our lifetime.
Agreed.
But
I agree with that totally.
I don't know, like what is more believable at this point, like the UFOs or this element. But here's the funny thing. Like, so when I was little, like I'll tell a little story. And I, like when I was little, I remember waking up early, like in the middle of the night and seeing this light out the window. And when I look, like I can't see because it's so bright. And then I look at the bed where my cousin was sleeping. He's gone. And I'm like, where the hell is he? You know, like, and I just like freak out. And then I get up out of my bed to check him out. And I see this weird little shadow, like kind of looks humanoid, but I can't tell what it is. And the more close I try to get to it, the more my stomach hurts. And so like I go in bed and lay down. And then, you know, and then I was like, go to sleep. And the next day I wake up, I'm like, to like my mom, like, I was abducted by aliens. It was just a bad dream because I watched like the Encounter of the Third Kind the night before, and that was just like so fresh in my brain. But as a little kid, I really believed there's like an abduction UFO, and my mom was like, "No, there's no UFO because your grandma and we stayed up talking until this hour of the night. Nobody came. Like you were dead asleep. Nothing happened." But part of me wanted to believe, just like I want to believe right now. Like, come on, LK-99, come on, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and that's part of the thing. Like, the want to believing this is great because it is. Like, if this is an actual thing, it's great. But this isn't an actual thing.
Wait.
Absolutely,
like, is this more junk than lizard people?
It's in the same. This is the same.
Hilarious.
Same realm.
Both exist. If both exist, like
same
lizard people exist, and this is the element they use to come from underneath the Antarctica to like kidnap children or something. I don't know.
Here's the thing. I am like total skeptic camp on any claim made by some dude in South Korea who then cannot be reproduced on something on this level, right? Because that's the thing. You have to be. You can't just take this and say like, well, because it can happen at low temperatures, it's not a giant jump to happen at regular room temperatures.
It is a giant jump.
That is a giant jump. That is a massive jump.
Yeah,
that's like jumping from flying thing in the sky to, well, that must be from another planet. But that's a giant jump too, right? Because that's what a lot of people do. They make that jump.
I was
so
going
it's
to
that
say,
same jump.
To be clear, what I said about UFOs is not that I think they're from other planets. I do think the Navy has an advanced drone. And if it does what they say it does, given the things that anything is imagined, this is the only way they could do it with a super.
While I agree, that's more likely than being from another planet. Yep. It's also, for me, in the realm of you got to prove it. So it's still
with discoveries
fantasy.
Like this one, like no, like not like some random scientist in Korea or anywhere is going to come up and make it public. Because if you're the one who discovered like such an element, like the amount of money and power you could have and the greed, if anything, you're going to keep it secret from as many people as possible and just like contact like the right people, like the government, like whatever. But I don't think like this is something someone would say publicly. Like we didn't know the atom bomb existed until they used it, you know? And it's like the same thing. Like this is, you know, potential of changing the world. It's like, no, we're not going to know it existed. Yeah, exactly. And so
it shocked the world when they did it, for sure.
It is. And don't forget, they pushed this out, right, as a paper to tell people exactly how to do it. So they basically gave you the recipe, right? They said, hey, here's the recipe. Here's how we did it. You can repeat it. Although apparently scientists have looked at their paperwork and said, well, there's some things that are a little bit weird about this. It doesn't seem quite right. So there's some skeptics instantly. But literally, I will say nobody's been able to replicate it because the people that have been able to replicate it, at least some of them have already come out and said, well, actually, I faked it for the clout.
They've replicated.
I just
yeah, because there were some. There was a Chinese one who came out and said, but that's what was happening. People were replicating it for the clout, right? Because they realized, hold on a minute, this is like got big news at the minute. This is becoming a thing. Like, I need to jump on this bandwagon. I need people to come look at my thing too. So I'm going to fake it. So any of the ones that said they've replicated have been fake. No actual scientist of any clout has replicated this yet. Therefore, for me, it is junk. One person has said it. This is the same. These South Korean guys, for me, are in the same realm as the guy that got abducted by the alien last night. Same realm. Same realm. It's one dude. It's one dude who said he was abducted by the alien. Same one dude has said he's created this superconductor. Until somebody else does.
Like the scientific method is that if it is legit, people are going to be able to replicate it and make it and whatever. And you know, we'll see what happens. But at the same time, it's like something this important. I don't feel like some random dude is going to like whatever.
So
it's just a story.
So to put it back to the History Channel, you know, aliens or Among Us, whatever it is. So LK-99 stands for the year 1999. This is supposedly by an accident. He saw this in a lab and they couldn't replicate it. He went on to research battery technology, and for 25 years, he had to. These other guys devoted their life work to doing this, and they said they finally cracked it. Now,
Savitar movie
pretty
plot.
good.
Yeah, Savitar Cesar. Yeah, Savitar Cesar Paez graduated with his PhD in electrical and mechanical. It's electrical and material science in 1999. He's the one that filed the patent in 2016 with the Navy on superconductors. Just weird.
Just no, 100%. We got to do a separate channel. Separate channel. Like, that was the funniest thing about that show. Like, the wilder the claim was by him, the crazier his hair got. And so I was just watching the show literally to see how crazy is his hair going to be. But the part that blew my mind, I remember like growing up watching History. I love aliens, conspiracy theories, but I knew like it doesn't belong on History Channel. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, History Channel's anything but history. And I'm like, what happened? And I guess it's like money speaks like, yeah, look at that hair. Look at that guy. Look at it. Like he's squinting. I'm not saying this was aliens, but it was aliens. Look at him squinting because he can't believe the BS. He's like spinning. He's like, yes. He's having a hard time seeing through all the BS like he's putting out there. But yeah, look at that. Like,
classic.
But I think it's good for our viewers to know that why this is exciting. If we could transfer electrical power from a power grid to your home losslessly, our power consumption may go down. Some say that's up to 70% of all electricity is lost to heat in transmission. We could make quantum computers for the first time because now those are whatever they're experimenting with are done by supercooled superconductors. We could make car batteries. I don't know how much smaller they get. They would get a lot smaller. Car electric engines would have to be redesigned to use these materials. They would be more efficient. You could make for the first time maybe an airplane that could fly electrical, because right now an electrical airplane isn't really possible because it would be too heavy for it to fly. There's lots of problems by making a commercial airline.
Instantly charge my phone.
Instantly.
You could probably instantly charge your phone, and it may hold a charge for days or weeks.
Yeah,
which would be
I mean,
kind of
I
a
agree.
game
The,
changer.
the tech's cool.
But it's
the
a
tech's very, very
conspiracy
cool.
theory
But it's just that,
this is
It's just not real.
This is what's happening.
It's just not real.
So,
Exactly.
like, I can guarantee you, if people dig deeper into the story, they'll find out that at the end of the day, Tom Cruise is responsible, because that actor, he keeps getting younger and younger by every movie. So he definitely figured something out. And he's like, people are going to catch on. He's like, I'm getting younger, like whatever the means are, you know? And he's like, let me come up with this crazy cover story that everybody's going to get excited and they're not going to care. So I could make like we'll have Mission Impossible like 55 and he's going to look younger than he's going to be like a child. Like, that's what I want to know. Like, how are these celebrities getting younger and younger? It's like, yeah.
He's going to do his next stunt's going to be on one of those.
Don't read into those stories, Paul.
Superconductor.
I know why it
Why
is.
people think it that
It's
way.
not good. It's all terrible
It's not
stuff
good.
that they're doing. And, you know, but it's like,
I think that's conspiracy theory because I don't think
Yeah,
that would work. But like,
yeah,
I
no,
didn't
we
want to mention
can't.
it.
That's
It's
not
just
good.
crazy.
No, we don't
But,
talk about that.
I looked
I
up
can
10.
see the age in Tom Cruise, but the one I can't see age at all is Paul Rudd. Like, that man looks exactly
great
the
skin.
he's
same.
a lizard
Yeah.
person.
I would say that an interesting side. I did some research for this. I looked up 11 things that were science fiction, and way before they were thing. And the taser was one of them. You can go look up. There's a book called Tom Swift and His Electric Rifle. That was the name of the book. And the guy invented a taser in '74 from NASA because he thought, oh man, that's cool. An electric rifle. I'm going to make one. Portable audio, earbuds, the defibrillator from Frankenstein. That's where that was inspired from. They watched that and, you know, he's alive and all that kind of stuff. Mobile
I would say,
phones
though,
from Star
I would
Trek.
counter that with every 100 that was true, there were 10,000 that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's like you can't just say because we imagined these things, it became true. Just because we can imagine this because it happens in one thing does not make it true in another sense. It just...
My husband always says that any tech that you see in a movie, somebody's already working on that.
Yeah, they would like for that stuff to happen. We would like for the holodeck to happen, but that's not here yet. We can't materialize from one place to another. I've been watching Star Wars, by the way, Strange New Worlds.
Can't?
The Fly. You've been watching The Fly.
The Fly. Oh,
right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, that tech, like, because it's exist. I mean, that's been in movies and stuff for a long time, but that doesn't exist and may never. We don't know if it will or won't, but the same with this thing. Like, so a lot of top physicists have said, like, this is known by the current state of physics. This goes against the laws of physics, so we would have to rewrite the laws of physics for this to be a thing. So for me, until we rewrite that and fix it, like, it's always going to be sci-fi. It's always going to be untrue until that changes.
Yeah, when you think about the science, like the energy has to like expel somewhere, and so like, you know, generally it's heat, and you know,
aliens.
So how do you solve that?
Where
does the energy go?
Aliens or something, I guess. I don't know. Okay, let's move on to our final section then. Our null, not null section. Anybody have a not null today?
Not null recommendation?
Anybody have yeah, anybody have it? Yeah, anybody got a null then?
I don't have a null. I have a not null.
Do you have a not null? Okay, let's go with Sarah first. What you got, Sarah?
Okay, so I know we have a couple of Apple people in this chat. And so the Apple Watch, while all fine and good, I know everybody's got them, but here is my recommendation, and that is Garmin. I love my Garmin watch. And so I actually have, so this is the Venue 2S. I also have the, this is the Captain Marvel watch. And I have like the nice, cool little like feminine Lily watch. Like,
looks like an actual watch.
Right. And so these are all smart watches. And so I can switch around them, like, and it'll track my steps like between the like three. And like I get at least a week out of this charge. And a couple of the other ones, like, my husband's, he's got like a more masculine one, but it has a solar charging, and he can get like a month out of it charge on his.
Impressive.
And so, like, I think, you know, people are just like into like I need an Apple Watch or like a Samsung watch, but like you really got to look at Garmin because they've got some really quality watches. And the Venue 3 is probably going to come out like next month. So I'll probably be purchasing that, but
wait till they get LK-99 in them.
right. And then the watch will last like a year on a charge.
Exactly.
You'll never have to charge it again. It'll just exist for a lifetime.
Yeah, like the sleep tracking, the like fitness tracking, like really can't be beat with anything else. And then all of just the like I get my notifications, and it's just a really and the cool thing, like I can like usually switch out my bands. So like I can switch out my bands for like I can go on fossil.com and get like a fossil band and put that on my watch and things. Like it doesn't have to be all proprietary like some people like to be. So
well, you can go on like Temu and get them for 25 cents.
Yeah.
An Apple band.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to be buying anything from Temu anytime soon.
No, that's cool. Yeah,
but yeah,
I've not played with anything that isn't an Apple Watch. For me, it's about like ecosystem. So ecosystem is like I'm all in it, so it just makes sense for me. But yeah, that's cool. I like these. I like the fact they come in square and round.
One of the very first year Kevin was here at Coder Foundry working for us, and we traveled to New York. And I remember, and I thought I was techie until I met Kevin. And he bought something. He bought a drink at a drink machine with his watch. And I'm like, what is that magic, man? Like, what are you doing? Like, it was I think you were using, what were you using? Was that a Samsung watch at that time, or what was it?
No, it was an Apple watch.
It was an Apple watch,
first
right?
Generation one. Yeah.
And I remember I had my wallet, but I didn't have any cash on me, and the cash machine didn't take cards. And I was dying of thirst. I couldn't buy a drink. Kevin just goes up
He's
there
like,
that.
let me take care of that for you. Yeah, Garmin has Garmin Pay. Like you can pay with your watch if you wanted to.
Yeah, the pay with the watch thing, I to this day use everywhere. And it is kind of crazy because I was in a store just the other day when we went out to the beach, and I bought a mug. I like buying like custom mugs for some reason. When somebody's made it, it's something about like a mug that somebody's made, right? So I go to this little like craft shop, and they had like the mugs that this person had made, and I go to pay, and the lady had never seen somebody pay with a watch before, and I was like, wow, like people are still fascinated by it even today. This thing's been out how long now? Even today, some people have never seen it. Yeah, it's crazy. I use it everywhere. Everywhere has touch pay. If they don't, I ask. If it's not obvious, I'm like, hey, can I touch pay? And most of the time, they're like, yes, you can. They just don't think to ask.
Right. Yeah. So obviously, I'm a fan. I have like, too many. And they're not cheap.
I see that.
But like, that's cool. As a girl too, like this like small one, like I love this one just because it's, it looks like a regular watch, and it's not going to be like all ginormous on my wrist and everything. Like, I mean, I'm a teeny tiny person. So, I don't look teeny tiny, but I'm 5'1", and like,
it's hard to tell.
I'm
on the
very
internet.
small. So like a regular like smartwatch is like ginormous on my like wrist.
It's funny you say that because I remember like I do stuff for my company on YouTube, and then I met people in real life. Everybody's like, "Oh, you look so much taller." I'm like, "Thanks."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah, I've met like at Utah, I've like gone to like an influencer event, and people are like, "You're short," and I'm like,
"You're like, thanks."
Yeah, I am. I know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, wasn't aware. Thanks.
Okay, Paul, what you got?
Oh my God. I discovered the greatest YouTube channel because I grew up on like all 90s movies, like with
it's
Van
called
Damme.
Null Podcast?
Steven Seagal's. Well, that is the greatest YouTube channel, but there's one called Space Ice. Yeah, I'll share a link here.
Space Ice?
Space Ice. I'll share a link. And so he does these movie reviews, but he puts commentary over it, and he edits the thing that like the reviews and like just becomes so hilarious. And this channel had me dying laughing, literally, like the one that I just shared, the one for like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Running Man. And it's just so funny. So if you watched and grew up on those movies, or you've seen some of them, like his commentary, you're going to be laughing 100%. And I'm like, how is this person doesn't have a million subscribers? But like, usually I don't audibly laugh, but some of the videos they crack me up. I was just like,
so are these reviews of the movies then?
So they're basically movie summaries, but they're summaries done with his perspective of what he thought like it is. Like it's just he adds like commentary. It's hilarious. Like It's really good. It's really good.
I noticed Steven Seagal has been doing
He's not
well
a
for
big
him.
fan
Like,
of Steven Seagal.
all of his top videos look all Steven Seagal, entitled "Worst Movie Ever."
Yeah.
Every single one.
So like,
I see he's not a fan. Wow, this dude's made a lot of money off Steven Seagal being bad.
I mean, he does some funny stuff, and his like good movie reviews, like with Van Damme, like any of them. It's just like if you grab any of those movies, it's just hilarious to hear his take. But yeah, poor Steven Seagal, like he gets the worst of it. Like it's just funny. I can't even. You just gotta watch him. Like it'll be like a time suck, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Oh my god, the greatest ever.
Similarly, have you seen Brutal Moose?
Brutal Moose. I think I saw a few.
So and I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast.
Yes, you
Maybe
did
I haven't.
mention it once. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because he reviewed the Christmas movie that I was in.
Oh, yes. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that was hilarious.
That's great. I'll check this out. Definitely. Bobby, what you got?
So mine's nothing you can buy. It's something I'm using, and I'm super excited about it. It's a little bit early, but I think that .NET 8 went into its last preview this year, and we are getting ready to rewrite all of our stuff in .NET 8.
Oh, wow.
It is, if you're into development and you're writing websites for a living, this is the release that you need to look at. There is no short of like what they're doing is really making the very first full stack framework, which is truly a JavaScript type front end, truly a back end server side. You can decide where it runs, a component first framework, really good.
Cool.
And so like, I think it's going to change the way websites are built. And it's going to be called Blazor is the thing that's coming out with it, but it's also Maui, which is desktop. They're blurring the lines between what's a website and what it's not, and how do you build it. And so we're excited about that here. Personally and professionally, I think it's really cool. So .NET 8 by Microsoft. If
Very
you're in
cool.
development, learn it. Check it out.
Blazor just reminds me of the dodgeball. It's like Blaze.
Yeah, Microsoft aren't very good at naming things. We have to
Not
joke
their
about this all
thing.
the time at Code of Foundry. They are the worst at naming.
In fact, they may not call it Blazor this time, Kevin. They may call it Web App instead of just Blazor. We'll see what they call it. It hasn't been named quite yet, and we'll just see. But .NET 8, it's really cool if you're into development.
They're so good at naming stuff that they named 2 different products Blazor. And I kid you not,
they did.
2 different products, they had the same name. I kid you not.
Different.
And now they're merging them. Because it's like, okay.
They also have a front end technology called Razor Pages and a framework called Razor Pages. Totally different.
Not
things.
confusing at all.
It's
No,
not
Totally
confusing
not.
at all.
Total
So-
sense. Total sense.
What's I have a funny story because Blazor's been a thing for a while now, but at one point it was like super bleeding edge, and using it probably wasn't the best thing to do. So there's a community member, Luke, who frequently frequents your channel. And I talked to him before many times. So one day he's asked me, should I build as a portfolio? And I know he's really into C#. So I was like, yeah, you need to build a thing with Blazor. I think it'll be really, really awesome. But the thing literally just came out. It had all these issues, and he builds this app, and then he shows it to me. I'm like, yeah, see, isn't it awesome? He's like, no, Paul, it's not as awesome as you think it was, because this doesn't, but it obviously, like, it's when something brand new comes out, like the day off, it's probably, you got to wait a little bit, but I'm excited for it. Like, I'm not even like a net developer, but I'm like really, really excited for it as well, because this idea of it's pretty nice.
Replacing JavaScript is in the reality realm now. Like, it's like, it's in the realm of like, hey, if this catches on, other people are going to build WASM front ends. Like they are. They just are. They'll leave JavaScript. And then people think I'm crazy if I say it on the Coder Foundry channel. We get a lot of hate mail like, it's not going away. I'm like, yeah, okay, Cobalt did.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You mean I should stop building my website in Flash?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe at some point, I think maybe a good topic on here, we should talk about WASM from like a perspective of like the web, like a bigger, like a less technical perspective. Because I literally wearing the t-shirt, WASM t-shirt. Like, it's literally a thing. We should probably talk about it because it does mean stuff on a wider it's actually it's the fourth language of the net. So it's like we should talk about it and talk about how what it's gonna mean to an end user.
Yeah,
kind of interesting.
I feel that is definitely the direction it's going. The hope that I'm holding on to. And by the way, like I've done C# before, so if I really had to pivot, it's not like a big stretch. I don't feel would be, but at the same time, I'm like, someone's gonna write a transcriber or whatever compiler that's gonna take your JavaScript and convert it to, WebAssembly. But still, that's a good technology for sure.
Yeah. Okay, my null this week. I've been very negative this week, haven't I?
You had a bad week.
What are you talking about? What? Like what? Like what did you say?
I should have probably apologized.
Excuse to have a bad time.
Yeah.
But look how happy it makes you say all these negative things about Elon, though. I think like, you're like, oh,
I've just
negative.
hated on every single story this week. Elon, LK-99, the Canadian government. Like I've just been down on everything.
Do you need some like cookies in your life or something?
I think maybe. So I'm going to round it out with another downer because why not? My downer for this week, my null for this week, my big null for this week is Frontier Airlines. I'm going to say, just don't fly with them. Don't even bother. I know you get what you pay for. I know we talked about this last week, and if anybody that listened to last week's show, you're probably like, well, I listened to it and I told you so. You're probably yelling into the room, like, why on earth are you flying Frontier? So I maybe jinxed myself. My flight was supposed to be last Thursday. It got cancelled. They gave me the option to rebook. I was like, should I rebook? It was to fly on Friday. Was it Friday? Flying Friday. Yeah, the Thursday and then for Friday. And I was like, nah, we're not going to bother. So it turns out they cancelled Thursday. They also cancelled Friday. The planes, I don't think they fly this route, man. I'm just convinced at this point. They don't even fly it. They booked me on a plane that doesn't exist. Here's what was interesting, though, and was good. My Flighty app that I recommended last week gave me plenty of notice. The official app of Frontier gave me zero notice.
Oh my god!
My Flighty app actually gave me every delay. It delayed about 8 times throughout the day before they eventually cancelled it. I didn't get a single notification from Frontier that it cancelled until it cancelled. And you know where they sent it to me? On an email. They emailed me to tell me that the flight was cancelled.
Oh my god!
I already knew because Flighty had already told me about 15 minutes before that it was cancelled. So Flighty for the win. Frontier sucks. Don't go there. I know they're a cheap airline, but I'll also say the flight I was taking was cheap.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, because it kept getting delayed.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So then we just rebooked a trip somewhere else and just did something else.
That sucks, though.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm flying tomorrow, and I opted out spending more money because I was going to go with Spirit, which is just as bad, maybe worse. And so I ended up paying more money because I was like, there's no way in hell. But at the same time, I paid more money and had the same thing happen. So I think
here's the thing, though. This is the thing. They say Frontier is a low-cost airline. It was not low cost. I will tell you the price. It was $1,400 and something for 2 people to fly from Raleigh to Puerto Rico.
Oh my god!
It was not cheap by any means.
Yeah.
Okay, it was not cheap. It's just that they own that route. It's the only direct route you can get there, and they know it, so they just charge whatever they want.
Oh my god!
So the get what you pay for doesn't apply in this. For me, it doesn't because I paid a lot of money. Thankfully, I had a refundable ticket, so I was able to get the money back. So.
You did remind me of Null. That
go on.
Wanted
While we're on a downer, go for
it.
So here's the thing. I ended up buying 2 different sets of tickets recently to fly to Las Vegas because I use the Expedia, and Expedia usually is really, really good, but they have this option to buy insurance. And they make you sound like you buy this insurance and you're very easily able to cancel or change and whatever. All of that is BS. You're not able to do anything. It's just a waste of money because I literally couldn't do anything, couldn't cancel. And they literally, there's 3 things. It's did a heavy equipment fall on your head? No. Okay. Then you can't. It's I'm not saying it's exactly verbatim what it says, but might as well be. And so I was literally I can't play this game. I don't have the time. So I literally just was I'm not canceling. I'm not getting my money back either, which is I'm not going to go through this lengthy process. I'm just going to buy a whole ticket. So I ended up buying money and being luckily, a ticket from here to Las Vegas is not bad. So I lost $300, but but it's just complete nonsense. And so never buy that stupid ticket insurance through Expedia. It is worse than and like that. Yeah, it's terrible.
Worse than
We should start up a travel podcast, or probably an anti-travel
Yeah. I was so
podcast.
upset. What's interesting though, one ticket is leaving tomorrow, and then my return ticket was like coming back on the 13th, but then I had that other ticket that I bought prior that's coming back on the 16th. So I might use one ticket from one sale and then the other ticket from a different sale to come back on different dates.
Then he's going to
This
get banned
is-
for
you're
saying
going
I'm probably
that.
going to get banned. Yeah, they're gonna be like,
Exactly,
you like
exactly.
whatever. I'll be like, no, I bought insurance. Go screw yourselves.
This is DEF CON you're going to?
Yeah.
It's the same
Going
thing?
to DEF CON.
Okay.
So
Oh,
Awesome.
fun.
my friends like, don't bring your cell phone. You need a burner
Yeah,
phone. Like, don't do. I'm like, I know. I'm not going to do.
We
Yeah.
want a
But
full
the cool
review
thing
next
is-
week. I'm excited.
Yeah.
They're going to have all these cool workshops, and there's certain lock picking kits that in order to get it, you have to be like a certified lock pick, like whatever person. But when you go to DEF CON, they're just going to have a booth that's going to sell you like the best kit that makes picking locks so easily. So I'm excited to purchase one for educational purposes.
Okay.
And then all the other things that I'm going to learn, because there's a funny story. There's a talk about elevators. And so the person who's giving the talk is like, I am going to give it the last talk of the whole event, because he's like, I don't want people to mess with elevators.
Mess with all the
Yeah.
elevators.
Exactly. And I'm
All of
like,
a sudden in
Las
Vegas,
Vegas.
none of the elevators work.
and here's another thing. It's like the event, it's only cash only. And the reason
Yeah.
why is because they don't want to, some of the people in the field, they don't want to share their identity or have anything that backtracks to, like,
Yeah.
that can help identify them in any way. So I was like, this is
Don't
fun.
bring anything
Actually-
Bluetooth enabled too. That's
Yeah,
okay.
no, I'm not bringing
Yeah.
anything except my friend with his burner phone. If I get
Yeah.
lost,
It's going to be great. You can enjoy it. I want a full review. Tell us
Yeah,
well,
that-
panels
that's
you went
awesome.
to.
I've
Learn a
always
lot of
wanted
stuff.
to like check that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I think I need to get back going to these conferences. Some of them are a lot of fun. I would like
Yeah.
to go to DEF CON.
yeah.
Definitely.
I've never been, and so I'm really excited because I'll get to do DEF CON and then see their big eye looking like
Yeah, you see the big
TV
sphere.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
the sphere.
Oh, right,
It'll
right.
be super exciting. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I only
That's
live
awesome.
like 4 or 5 hours away from Las Vegas, so it's it's not a quick trip, but
Not that
not
far.
far. Yeah.
Well, just tell me if they talk about LK-99 in DEF CON.
If there's an LK-99 panel, Paul, definitely go.
You know it's true. That
Yeah,
part.
please
You know
go.
it's true.
On that note, let's wrap it up. That's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. We'll be back again next week. As I always ask, leave us a review somewhere if you can. That would be awesome. I didn't collect any to read this week. Maybe next week if I remember to do that. I'm pretty bad about it.
We had a lot to talk about today anyway.
We did. We had a lot to talk about. We went kind of long. So, maybe next week. We'll see. You can always leave us a review. 5 stars would be awesome. We're trying to crack that top 200 on Apple Podcast technology. So please help us do that. That would be great. And we'll catch you all next week.